Ricciardo's tenure in F1 may be over, and although it pains us to say this, it is likely the best outcome for his career. The Aussie hasn't quite been the best version of himself in the previous 2 years, and although he and Renault had big plans when he made the switch from Red Bull in 2018, they were merely able to fulfill any of those plans. After everything that happened with Ricciardo's career, it's likely the end of it. And in this video, we're going to talk about why retirement is the best option for the Aussie. Before we start with our video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like our video and turn on the notifications on our channel. Ricciardo has been one of the brightest talents in F1 when he joined Red Bull. Many perceived him as this dominant figure who was just able to overtake and complete maneuvers with ease, as he was quickly handed the nickname the latest of the breakers. This nickname implied that by his late braking, Ricciardo was able to complete quite some overtakes and make a steady driver profile of himself in Red Bull. But there is something called wrong timing. Ricciardo joined Red Bull in 2014 from HRT, replacing Mark Webber. This was the season when the new regulation stepped in and Mercedes was able to dominate the sport in the turbo-hybrid era. Also, it was the end of Red Bull's domination, where they won 4 straight Drivers' Championships with Sebastian Vettel. Now, it was kind of impossible to fight against the rocket ship that Mercedes built from that season on, and quite frankly, every new and upcoming driver was trying to make a profile for the second best on the grid. But this isn't something that bothered Ricciardo, because he was in the basket with all the other drivers on the grid, except for Hamilton and Rosberg at the beginning of the 2017 season, when Rosberg was replaced by Bottas. All the other drivers were just waiting patiently for Mercedes' reign to an end. But in Ricciardo's case, it seems like he got way too comfortable in being the number 1 driver for Red Bull in 2015. In 2015, a 17-year-old boy debuted for Toro Rosso in Australia, and in 2016, the same boy was placed to be Ricciardo's teammate in Red Bull. Just 2 years later, this boy was the reason that Ricciardo decided to move away from Red Bull, reportedly because the team has signed a deal with Honda to be their engine supplier, but we all know that Ricciardo didn't feel like Red Bull is treating him and Verstappen with the same amount of respect. And quite frankly, that was kind of expected, because Ricciardo did have 2 years more to accommodate to Red Bull's car compared to Max, and although he finished ahead of Max in 2016 and 2017, the 2018 season was something that broke Ricciardo's spirits, and he decided to leave Red Bull for Renault. This was the season when Verstappen finished with 249 points, 2 wins and 11 podiums, compared to Ricciardo's 170 points, 2 wins and just 2 podiums. From this point on, everything started to go downwards for Ricciardo. When he joined Renault, it was mostly because the French team was able to offer him a huge amount of money. And you know what they say, money talks. But in terms of performance, Ricciardo's P9 finish in 2019 was everything but good, as he wasn't able to score a single podium for the team. He was better than his teammate Hülkenberg, we have to give him that, as he scored 17 points more than the German. But this isn't enough for a driver that is paid so much money to bring the glory back to his team, right? Ricciardo managed to prove himself in 2020 when he scored 2 podiums for Renault after the team had a very long pause when it comes to standing in the top 3 places. On top of that, Ricciardo finished the season on P5, beating his teammate by a large margin of 57 points and finishing just 6 points behind Perez from Racing Point. Now, this is where things started to really get into the downfall manner for Ricciardo. He decided to switch teams yet again and join McLaren in 2021. This turned out to be the worst possible decision for him in his career. Even worse after leaving Red Bull for Renault. Ricciardo's tenure in McLaren turned out to be a disastrous one, and even though he managed to win his 8th career race with the working-based team, that wasn't enough for the team to keep him in the starting lineup. And who could blame them? You have this kid called Norris, who joined McLaren in 2019, and he absolutely destroyed Ricciardo in 2022. 2021 was a bit of a closer matchup, although Norris was able to finish 45 points ahead of Ricciardo, with 4 podiums compared to Ricciardo's 1 win and 1 podium season. But 2022 is what put the nail in the coffin for Ricciardo's career, and this is exactly where McLaren turned into a one-man show. Norris is currently P7 with 101 points, while Ricciardo has only 29 points, with 4 races to go on the calendar. This was the main reason why McLaren decided to get rid of Ricciardo and replace him with a younger compatriot of his, Oscar Piastri. Should Ricciardo be mad about how fate turned out for him? Yeah. mad at himself. He always lacked the skill to adapt to different circumstances, and that was one of the reasons why he dropped off in performance severely when he joined McLaren. Renault and Red Bull are cars that are similar in performance when it comes to on-track behavior. They are most stable in the turns and in the corners, and it seems like Ricciardo enjoys cars that are stabler in the process. On the other hand, the McLaren car is a little bit understeering when it enters or exits the corners, which is something that Norris enjoys, but Ricciardo has had a fatal time adapting to it. This is why his driving style has failed him while trying to adapt in McLaren, and this is why he is currently without a seat in F1 for the 2023 season. But with all this being said, what is next for Ricciardo? After debuting in 2011, it seems like we're currently seeing the last of the Honey Badger, and that is something he acknowledged by himself too. If he wants to stay in F1, two teams are offering him a seat, and they are HAAS and Williams. Not that they are directly offering the driving seat to him per se, but they are available and he can have a chat or two about possibly suiting up for these teams. However, Ricciardo said on multiple occasions that he doesn't want to jump in any F1 team as it is now, just for the sake of being in F1 and driving at the back of the pack. Realistically speaking, we have no idea how much of a wish Williams and HAAS have when it comes to signing Ricciardo, especially after what they have on their table. Williams can sign Sargent and develop him into a solid driver, while HAAS can continue in their investment with Schumacher or sign another driver from the Ferrari Academy like Schwartzman. Therefore, it's safe to say that Ricciardo's tenure in F1 is over, and according to us, he should definitely consider retirement from this sport. What he currently has on the table is to join Mercedes as a reserve driver in 2023 and then possibly take the starting spot in 2024 with Hamilton's potential retirement. But these rumours have been bashed away from Wolff, saying that Hamilton's signature with Mercedes is just a matter of time and that the 7-time world champion will likely continue his contract with 5 more years. Many experts have downplayed Ricciardo's chances of signing with another team in F1, such as Alpine, although Horner said that he doesn't understand why Ricciardo isn't considered the best possible replacement for Alonso in that seat. Nevertheless, it seems like we're currently seeing the last from the Honey Badger, and as he said prior to the Suzuka GP, the reality is that he won't be on the grid in 2023. That is something that will definitely hurt all of the F1 fans, but you can't live off memories, and although Ricciardo did provide some excellent and breathtaking moments, such as the 3-man overtake in Baku in 2017, you can't build your career on sole highlights. There was a small chance that Ricciardo would have been signed from Alpine right when the silly season took full swing, but as Zafnauer said, when it became evident that Gasly was available, then the shot list became even shorter. On top of that, Zafnauer replaced Abiteboul, who was Renault's principal until 2021, and he was the principal of Ricciardo. This means that the new structure in Alpine doesn't believe that Ricciardo has what it takes to drive for a top-performing team like Alpine, and this has likely been one of the main factors why Ricciardo will consider retirement as his most realistic option. What do you think will happen next with the Honey Badger? Do you think that he's done for good? Let us know in the comments below.